Board of Directors. Okay, let's start again. Good evening and welcome to the Duluth Community Services regular meeting of the Board of Directors on this date, March 16, 2022. This meeting is now called to order. We will begin with roll call. Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Carol is absent. D'Alessandri.
Here.
Ralston is absent and Roberts is here. If everybody would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, item number B, authorizing on-site and virtual board and committee meetings, consideration and adoption of resolution number 22-05, authorizing on-site and virtual board and committee meetings pursuant to AB 361. Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, move that we approve.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor, Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
D'Alessandri?
Aye.
Roberts, aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. All right, agenda C, the sheriff's report. Good evening, Deputy.
Good evening, y'all. Jim, hope you get better. Quick wise, there wasn't anything real significant that occurred the last period. I got a lot of people reporting there's rattlesnakes out right now. They've been out for the past couple of weeks, but not really out from what I'm being told. Also, I did a flyover last Thursday. I flew over our district. I know it's early in the marijuana season, but this is typically when they start laying the groundwork down, the lines and everything. We didn't find anything. Did find a couple of greenhouses that appear to have a green leafy substance inside of it. And that'll be taken care of with code enforcement. So I'll take care of that. We did have one issue call for service this last month. I will say that if you rent out your equipment, whether it's a sand rail or a Jeep or something, and you put it on a Craigslist, it's always good to get a photograph of the person's driver's license, their ID, so that way we can identify that person when they take off your property. So if we deal with Craigslist, don't be surprised if we'll provide false ID or something. So just keep that in mind. I spoke to Ron Welch, the code enforcement officer for Airbnb. And that was a question I wrote last week. He said basically, if you post your property on Airbnb or some short-term rental website, that is a violation in itself. So they'll be looking into the Airbnb sites and everything to basically, if they're in Duluth, they're going to go after you site them. Also, traffic on Sandia Creek. At the request of Jim, I guess we had a lot of traffic on Sandia Creek again because Sandia Creek got opened up. The first day I wrote like 6 or 7 citations for speeding. I did notice there was a lot of people that were beginning to increase their speed, head towards La Cruz. They were coming from Fallbrook towards Temecula. But shocker, when they saw my vehicle, they tend to slow down really quick. So if you're doing that, please slow down before you get to me. I did, like I said, lots of citations, and during the week it slowed down. So that had been an impact. I'm talking to CHP this morning. They also had the same assessment that there's a lot of people that are coming from Fallbrook, basically, on Sandia Creek that are running too fast. So they're also being cited by them also. So hopefully, as the old saying, pain retains, those slow people down. I also heard some complaints, concerns about De Anza. So I'll be heading over to De Anza next week to buy my trade. So a bit of a heads up on that. Any questions from the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
First, there's activity at the county to limit short-term rentals at 30 days. And the board is going to be taking that up. Do you know anything about that? Have you heard about that?
What I heard today from Rod Welch was that he rewrote the ordinance and he submitted it up today.
Okay,
So
so that's basically it. It's gonna be 30 days.
I haven't seen the ordinance yet. I asked for a copy of the ordinance once it's approved.
Okay, do you know what the procedure is in terms of approval?
I have no idea, sir.
Okay. Second thing is, you mentioned code enforcement and greenhouses.
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate on that? I'm not sure what that means.
Okay, when it deals with marijuana in Riverside County, 24 plants of them actually have on a property for the residents. If you exceed that, it's a violation of law. There's also an ordinance to Riverside County that basically they go out to a property, they have, since they're not law enforcement, they have more ability to walk onto properties for enforcement issues.
I see.
They locate the property owner, if there's no property owner there, location, they use the records, they contact them, and they cite them with a citation. And basically they have 10 days to get rid of violations. If it's, obviously if they have more than 24 plants, it's a violation. If the greenhouse is not permitted, that's they have no permit, it's a violation.
You have to have a permit to have a greenhouse?
It has power to it, I
I
believe.
see, okay.
So code enforcement does all that stuff in terms of what violations are in place. They give them 10 days. After 10 days, I believe it's $1,000 fine per day. So then, it goes to the property owner.
Right,
That encourages the property owner to, get rid of whatever violations there are.
okay.
If we had actually one incident last year where they, I guess they assumed, that they can violate it and then harvest their product, sell it, and pay fines, make a profit.
Okay,
When that occurred, saw what was going on, we triggered a search warrant, hit the house, and took the product away from them.
okay,
And they started to pay the fine to code enforcement.
okay. So if someone were to build a greenhouse and without power, they probably should tell you about it. I mean, if it's just, in the family, that sort of thing, without marijuana, so that you don't go doing things.
Yeah, but like I said, code enforcement would go there, they have their own rules. If I see marijuana and with my helicopter and flying over, that's all I need,
Yeah, right,
okay? If I see that someone's a greenhouse, have a greenhouse.
right.
If I see a substance that could be marijuana, then I take my steps. But we have found that by using code enforcement, like out Anza, off power line, why should we sweat?
Right.
Let them sweat, get rid of it, chop it down,
Right.
and then destroy it, and it's taken care of.
Now, just to tell you that I've been dealing with code enforcement for over a year with a violation in our homeowners association with no response. So I don't know how you're gonna get any response.
Actually, I'm in contact with the current code enforcement officer, his name is Alex Starkweather. I'll be talking to him this weekend. There are some other issues that I already spoke to Debbie about it.
And I know I've talked to you about some of these issues that code enforcement should be addressing, and they haven't.
Okay. Like I said, I already spoke to Debbie about it, and I'm gonna get set for that.
Okay. Last question I have is,
Yes, sir.
have you been monitoring the no right turn on the El Prado Loop at all?
No, sir. I've been on San Diego Creek, that's been where the concern has been.
Okay,
And.
well, I don't think there's been a problem yet,
Okay,
but so if I do notice a problem, I'll let you know.
yes, and that's,
Not severe, I think there is traffic.
Yeah.
and that's like anything else that we keep talking about. I can't act on it unless people talk to me about it.
Right.
And like I said, I know the phrase goes, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I hear some squeaking, so we'll see, we'll go from there.
Well, we're gonna be taking some counts out there, great and stuff too, so we'll have that data for, we can supply that to the.
Great, excellent, thank you very much.
Any other question from the board? From the audience? Well, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Moving on, agenda item number D, the comments. Jessica, do we have anybody here today or on Zoom?
Yes, we do have two members of the public.
Okay, so you are going to be my time monitor, correct?
Yes,
And also just a reminder that public comments are limited to 3 minutes. And do we want to begin with those on Zoom? Would
yes.
that be good for you, Jessica? Okay, so who would be our first speaker?
We have a Shauna Jango.
Okay,
If you would like to address the board, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Shauna, would you like to unmute yourself so that you may speak now? There you
Hi.
go. Oh, hold on one second. Background noise there.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. You have 3 minutes, Shauna. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm having a difficult time hearing you guys from Zoom, by the way. But I did want to just address the fact that yesterday I had to come down to the board of or the financial committee because there was no way to access the meeting through online Zoom. The link wasn't provided, or if it was taken down. When I arrived at 2:20, Jessica was in the office, and I was concerned that there was still no link, her being there. And when I came into the meeting, it had appeared that it already had begun, even though I walked in at 2:30. I was allowed to speak for 3 minutes. And in that time, I talked about the transparency of having your records accessible to the public, because there's many people that can't go to these meetings. So at the very minimum, we should be allowed to access them online. So as I left the meeting, apparently the meeting wasn't finished because the door was closed after the meeting was adjourned. I asked Jessica, how come the meeting wasn't recorded during from 2:30 until it adjourned? And Jessica could not tell me the answer. She told me that I needed to speak to Jim. So I did speak to Jim, and I asked Jessica to go get him out of the meeting to answer that question. And he told me the reason why is because Jessica had to go get her child from daycare. I found this very odd, given the fact that from 2:20 until I left that meeting, Jessica was there, and she did not put the meeting on Zoom. Again, I just felt that was very odd. And Mr. Emmons told me that if I didn't like the way that this district is ran, I could take my complaints elsewhere. I thought it was very aggressive and said so. And he said, I didn't make a move towards you. And I said, it was your tone, sir. And at that point, he told me again, if I had complaints, to take them elsewhere, and I left. I am just shaking over this. And Mr. Emmons' rudeness to me was unparalleled. I have never, ever been treated so poorly by a public servant, where I just wanted to come and get information. So that's why I am here, and I'm going to continue to come to these meetings because it is a public forum, and I have the right, like everyone else, to attend. And so I am bringing my complaints forward, just as Mr. Emmons told me to, but rather than to him, I will bring it to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shauna, for your input. Jessica, anyone else in terms of a Zoom?
Smith,
Mr. or Ms. Smith, do you wish to speak at this time? If so, would you please unmute yourself? Okay, perhaps we're having technical issue, I'm not sure. So we'll go ahead and move on, and I'll come back around and double check on the Smith party. Okay, Jessica, next.
This is the only two.
Those were the only two. In terms of on-site public comments,
I was going to speak on county code enforcement.
okay, Roberta, would you like to go up to the podium?
Mine's a little different. Okay, so after listening to the meeting, that's fine. Make it shorter. But I wasn't asked to speak this evening about my experiences with Riverside County code enforcement. And at this point in time, I'm extremely disappointed in code enforcement. I had major mud damage to my property in 2015 and 2017. I came to the CSD and talked with Rob Holmes, who was general manager at that time, because the growth management service and the growth owner put the blame on neighboring growths and on the CSD. So Rob Holmes directed me to the county's supervisor, Kevin Jeffries. I went in person to the county, and a meeting was set up with county code enforcement officers, and Tricia Omran was the lead person, and I have to say she was really helpful, and I thought we were getting someplace. Things started to go downhill though after a violation was written on the Lemon Grove property because the farm management company stepped in and made comments and actually a violation changed. Since then, code enforcement, I think, has just passed me on from one person to the next. So my concern is that, and Rick Starkweather came out on February 28th. He was there for an hour. I showed him exactly where the mud and debris had come from.
Was that this year? Excuse
This
last
year.
year.
This year. Yes, this year. Said he was new. And that I should call Jared Gibbons, which Jared had been out in the past and deal with the situation. I just didn't want this situation to happen again when that property was redeveloped again. Because I've been told by engineers that it will happen. I called Jared Gibbons on March 2nd. Today's the 16th. I haven't heard from him. I usually follow up on calls, but I feel like I'm getting the runaround. So that's my take on county supervisor's office. And I've written 3 letters to Jeffries. The last one was certified. I also sent 4 certified letters to county code enforcement officers that had been out in the past. Actually, a number of them have been out because we've had mud cover up our road. The swale there on the loop covering both lanes. And code enforcement says, unless we see it actually coming onto the road, there's nothing we can do. If they can't see mud coming onto your property and debris devastating your property, there's nothing they can do. So I'm done with code enforcement. I feel that
Okay, well,
action needs to be taken.
we appreciate your update on that. Thank you, Roberta.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
That's,
Let me briefly go back to Visitor Smith. Do you care to speak at this time? If so, could you unmute yourself? Okay, I will assume you may have changed your mind. Okay, thank you very much so for being present. Okay, moving on, agenda item number E, information only. The following items are intended for information purposes only. One, financial statements. Two, statement of investment policy. Directors, any comments or questions? No?
We're still making a huge fortune. on our investment.
Yes.
0.02%.
Making a little progress there.
That's
Wow.
right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, item number F, which is the consent calendars, which includes the minutes of February 16, 2022, regular board meeting. Number 2, general fund claims for February 2022. 3, the sheriff's special tax claims for February 2022. Number 4, purchase orders, there are none. Any questions or changes, directors? No? Is there a motion to approve? Okay, all in favor, Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Alessandri?
Aye.
Roberts, aye. So approved. Okay, G, Sandia Creek via the Carroll Reconstruction Projects. Mr. Hunt?
I think that's actually gonna be, I'm gonna
It's gonna
say,
be
he's
you, Ron?
on the screen, but he's here to listen in, so I'll
Okay,
take it over.
Ron.
So we're doing a committee meeting, so,
Thank you, Ron.
not a problem. Yes, open up the presentation now. All right, and then you can go to the next slide. So, as everyone probably here is aware of, we have completed the project on Sandia Creek and Via Vaquero, and, it's a successful project. We're really, it's been a long time coming. Marietta did a great job out there. Everything looks great. Or pleasure to work with. So, it's been just a good process and everything. And on the screen here, you can see this is a picture of Via Vaquero, completed right there. You can see the fence was put up in the head wall from the time we were there. You can also see they started, they got the grades in there. And they got, you can see the greenish hue on the dirt that's going to be helping revegetate the area over there. But that's basically the final product. Everything was cleaned up since then. And then you go to the next slide. Here is the repaving of Via Vaquero. As you can see, a nice clean pavement, and you can see on the other side that pavement was cleaned up before being opened to the public. But you can see they have a nice clean pavement. Hard to believe that there was a hole there before, so everything is fully functional now. And I think open to traffic, everything's been going smoothly so far, from everything I've heard. So then if you can go to the next slide. So here, as we discussed in the last meeting, there was there were some areas around the Sandia Creek project that weren't in the best condition, and they were supposed to be in our slurry job last year, but we took them out because of the project going on. So what we negotiated with Marietta on some additional paving from Dianta to the county line there. And what you see on the screen here, this is just a simple mill that they do. So we have a patch repairs. They take off like a 3-inch layer. This is for areas that have potholing or alligator cracking. You can see there. And then if you go to the next slide, here is the finished product right there. So you can see they fill it up. They fill it up with the asphalt and repave it. They got the striping, the RPMs on there, and it looks like a brand new roadway right now. Of course, they clean it up before they open it up to traffic. So, but they did this all along. And if you go to the next slide, here's a long stretch. This is actually the project site. So I don't know if everyone remembers. I know I keep saying this, but it's just nice to say. It used to be a giant hole in the road right now, and then after a couple of years, a lot of design work, a lot of environmental work, and Marietta's hard work on site. You can see it as it's a functional road now. It's been open to traffic. We've had no issues. I know Deputy Perez has been out there, as you say, making sure people aren't speeding past it, trying to do anything out there. But you can see you got the security fence there, the down drain, so everything's in there. It's fully functional. The stream is running fine. So all in all, just a successful project. Just really weight off our shoulders to finally get this one out and completed. So I'm glad to give the good news to everybody here. So I think that was my last slide there for that. Yep, that was it. So and I don't know if Jim had anything to add. I don't know if we were able to talk to him there. Hope you're feeling better.
Oh, thanks. But I just wanted to make a comment that this is one of the best projects of this size I've ever seen. We had some issues the first weekend, and a lot of that was related to weather and timing. And I have to say that Tyrone with Wildan jumped in and basically got the project on track. When there's issues at the beginning, it makes you real nervous, but he really, it was Sunday, and by Monday morning, he had it all fixed. And I'd like to say that Jason Brown, the construction manager with Wildan, and Jason has many projects going at one time. But I look forward every week to receiving his email, which detailed exactly where we were and what remained to be completed. And just a very professional person. So Jason, if you can hear me, thank you so much. I really enjoyed working with you on this, and hopefully you'll be working on a future job for us. And also Paul Merrill, our inspector, he's the inspector with Wildan. Paul was out there every day, and in the beginning, he used to get a lot of texts from Paul, meaning I needed to call right away that something needed to be resolved. But after a few weeks, everything just smooth as glass. And you knew that if Paul was out there, everything was under control. So I'm hoping, Paul, that I get a chance to work with you again in the future. And I've got to say, Todd and Chloe Close with Murrieta Construction are first rate. I would recommend their firm and them anytime. And the projects that we have done with them, but this one in particular went so well. Anyway, Todd, you've got a recommendation from me. So, and also Cody really helped us out during the rains. We got a lot of work completed that has been just kind of being pushed off because we didn't have the equipment or the crews. And so when you get heavy rains, there's problem areas where there were. And I think we've pretty much cleaned those up because Cody's crew, due to the rain, was standing by. So we put them to work. So we cleaned up a lot of issues out there. So anyway, I'd just like to say, having done these over the years, this was one of the best projects I've ever seen. And anyway, those are my comments.
Thank you, Jim. Any comments from the directors?
Just my property abuts much of the work that went on there. And I have to echo what Jim said. I think the people that worked there were just wonderful. They provided access for us when we needed it. And so I think it went really, really well. They also cleaned up the street in front of my driveway. So of course they dirtied it a little bit, but they did clean it up. We appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate working with everybody with Wildan, with the district, and obviously appreciate having the opportunity. Obviously, it meant a lot to us when we lived there. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Well done on everybody's part. It was a long time coming, and it's just like day and night. So kudos to everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim.
I have one question. Any assessment of the traffic on Buenos Campos? We know how much that is decreased.
Well, I was out there this afternoon and I was watching it, and there'd be like 10 cars going straight and 2 or 3 turning left, kind of stuck during the peak hour. So I think there's still some people who are heading for Cameron and Duluth and those roads there that are going to probably continue to use Buenos Campos, but it's dropped off significantly.
Just as a comment, I was passing by going down the Fall Road about 4:30 during the heavy traffic. When I stopped at the stop sign, there were 8 cars coming toward me. 4 of them had their left turn lane, lights on to make the turn, so we definitely still have some traffic going through there.
Are you gonna monitor that as well to see?
Yeah, we have counts that will be set up all over the district, so we'll be able to kind of track it. We did that before, back in December, so we have the data from there, and we can use the comparison to see if it's going up, going down on any different streets.
And also there was a recommendation, not a recommendation, I apologize, but a suggestion that we look into a possible stop sign there at Wayne's campus.
Look at a what?
Stop sign
At where?
Wayne's campus.
There is a stop sign.
There is one there.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, a no left turn sign,
Right,
as we have a no right turn.
and that we'll look at at the same time we look at the
Right,
counts.
right.
Any other comments,
No.
questions? No? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Buena Vista, Mr. Stein.
All right, that's me again. So for Buena Vista, we are still going through the environmental permitting process, unfortunately. It's been a long time, but we have had some progress on that. In late February, the first step has been made for the environmental permits. They deemed our application complete, so everything is complete. They have everything they need. They've had that for a while now, but they have everything they need. So the clock is ticking now. They're going through the whole process. From what we've heard from the timelines and from our environmental consultants, we're still on board for everything we've been saying with the spring, getting that permit. As we said, we have contractors on board for that project. They're ready to go. And we'll be, I'm going to be talking with them as the month goes on and just when they can get going on the project. Once we get this environmental permit, so we have boots on the ground as soon as we can. From what I'm hearing, we should be expecting at the minimum a response late April. That's when all 3 agencies are kind of on the same timeline right now. It worked out well. Because of all the pre-filing meetings, all the pre-initial work we've done and meeting with all the agencies, we're expecting that to be just as smooth as it was for Sandia Creek. And hopefully it's just a no comment and we go on from there. But, environmental is it's always been an unknown. But just keep our fingers crossed and hope we can get that. But everything's on board for spring, just like we've been saying. So looking like it's going to work. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item number I, Environmental Services Report. Mr. Emmons?
Tonight we have with us from CR&L, Alex Brekovic, and he has a presentation regarding the issue that we discussed at a recent special meeting. And I think I would just ask him to begin his presentation, and then I'll make some additional comments in relation to where we may be going with this. So, Alex?
Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to run out of good classes.
It's quite all right.
Good evening, board members, staff. My name is Alex Brekovich. I'm with CR&R. And Jim asked me to come out tonight and give you a presentation on Senate Bill 1383. Senate Bill 1383 is a new law here in California that is going to have a major impact on all of our jurisdictions in California, cities, CSDs, counties. It impacts pretty much everybody. So let's just start off with a little bit of a background on what this is all about. The main goal of 1383 is to remove organics from the landfill. Organics create methane gas when they naturally decompose. So the state's goal is to remove all organics from the landfill. 1383's goal is to do just that. Mainly composed of food waste and yard waste. In 2018, we disposed about 24 million tons of organic waste in the state of California. And we throw about 6 million tons away of edible food as well. This law addresses edible food. Landfill organic wastes create methane gas. Methane gas is 84 times more detrimental to the atmosphere than CO2 is. So that's why the state is going after organic waste. Senate Bill 1383 was signed into law by Governor Brown back in 2016. It requires the state to reduce organic waste disposal by 75% by the year 2025. And that's about 20 million tons annually from statewide disposal. It also requires the state to increase edible food recovery by 20% by 2025. The law itself went into effect January 1 of this year. There was about 3 years of a regulatory process where every stakeholder had an opportunity to comment on the regulations. The law is about 6 pages long. If you read it, it's about 6 pages long. The regulatory package is about 180 pages. So you can imagine how prescriptive this law is. So January 1, 2022, this kicks in. I've been talking to Mr. Emmons for the past year or so, and I know that the district was hoping to get a waiver on SB 1383. We were hoping to get a waiver on SB 1383. Unfortunately, Cal Recycle, which is the state agency up in Sacramento that is basically carrying out this law, apparently has denied the district's waiver on this. We had a call with them this afternoon on a number of issues, and I brought up this issue with the Luz, and they pretty much told me outright that the final decision has come down from the chief legal counsel of Cal Recycle, and that unfortunately the district is not going to be allowed to have a waiver on this law. So what does that mean? That means that now the Luz has to comply with the law just like every other city and county in the state of California. What does that mean to Duluth? That means that we will have to add a full-blown recycling program, a full-blown organics recycling program to your menu of services in order for you to be in compliance. So back in 2010, we began planning for recycling of organics. We knew based on what state legislators were saying back then that organics were going to need to be pulled out of the landfill, and what do you do with them? In California and Riverside County in particular, there was nowhere to take food waste. There was a place to take green waste, but there wasn't any place to take food waste. So CRNR developed what's called an anaerobic digester. It's a facility we built in the city of Paris, where we take organic waste, food waste and green waste, and we convert it to 2 products. One is a compost material, and one is a renewable natural gas, RNG. RNG is then used to fuel our vehicles. It's the same as compressed natural gas, and that's what many of our vehicles need. That's about a $100 million project, and that's only 2 of 4 phases built so far. So that's where we're at in terms of a solution, a local solution for this organic waste. Edible food recovery, I'm not going to really touch too much on because I don't think the district is going to be required to do this. This is more on the cities. But the goal behind this program is to reduce the amount of edible food that is being thrown away in the state of California. And it's more related to commercial businesses, not residential. You guys are 100% residential. So feel fortunate that you don't have to do this. Because this is, in and of itself, it's a lot of work. Next, please. Educational requirements within these regulations. There's educational requirements that are going to have to be done. We will have to do an annual education to all generators, meaning that we will send out educational material on an annual basis to all your residents, explaining what they need to do, why they need to do it. We can do that electronically or on print media. You see some of the examples of the media that we've already created for other jurisdictions. The jurisdiction itself can also send out informational material, but this is a component of what's going to need to be done for the jurisdiction. Procurement requirements. This is a aspect, it's Article 12 within the regulations. CalRecycle figured that if all the cities in California are now going to generate compost, where is all that compost going to go? So they came up with a formula that takes 0.08 times the population of each jurisdiction, and that tells them what the target amount of compost is that the city has to procure. This is an area of the regulations that is not clear. Matter of fact, we spent a lot of time on this afternoon with CalRecycle, trying to get some clarification. There is a bill in the legislature. I think it's either AB or SB. I think it's AB 1985 spot bill that hopefully will give jurisdictions an opportunity to phase this part of regulations in. We're hoping that that will be the case because quite frankly, there's a lot of ambiguity in the procurement section of the regulation right now. I'll be working with Mr. Emmons and staff on trying to get some more clarity with regards to how this is going to work. But the bottom line is CalRecycle is expecting jurisdictions to buy back a certain amount of compost every year. And that is what we're trying to figure out in terms of how that's going to work. So there's more to come on this procurement issue. Another aspect of the regulations is reviewing and contamination monitoring. What this means is we're in the middle of hiring staff, and that staff will go out and do what we call lid flipping. And that is where we will take a percentage of the total customer base, and we have to go and look inside each container, make sure that the containers are not contaminated, meaning if it's a green container, it should only have green waste and food waste. If it's a recycling container, it should only have recyclables. If it's trash, it should only have trash. We have developed an app for this exclusively for this part of the regulations. This will be rolled out later this year. And we'll see how this all rolls out. This is all new to everybody. This is not something we currently do. So there's a lot of details that still need to be worked out. But we started, just to give you an idea, we started at 10% of the total customer base. We've narrowed that down to 2%. So it's going to be a very small percentage, but it has to be a representative sample because CalRecycle will come back and audit our records. So we have to make sure that we're doing it and keeping the district in compliance. So what we've done in all of our cities here in Riverside County, this has been done over the last almost 3 years now, is we've converted all of the green carts. Most of the cities that have curbside service have 3 carts, one for trash, one for recycling, one for green waste. What we did over the last 3 years is we converted the yard waste cart into an organics cart. That organics cart can now take green waste and food waste mixed together without any other work on the part of it. That's able to be done because of the anaerobic digester. So we have that technology that we can fall back on. There's also parts of the regulation that require certain labeling on the containers. In your case, we're gonna have to buy new containers. Those new containers will be already labeled. There's also certain colors that the containers have to be. Obviously, we'll provide containers with the right colors. So you can see how prescriptive these regulations are. In the beginning, to be quite frank with you, when we were going through the regulatory process, the initial regulation said you had to change all the carts to have these colors within 5 years. That would have been a multi-billion-dollar investment throughout California. Fortunately, what they've done in the final regulations is they've given cities till 2036 to put in the new cart colors. So that gives the cities an opportunity to phase it in over time. So commercial compliance, which does not affect the district, but all commercial customers are also going to have to do this. So all commercial customers will have trash, recycling, and organics. There is a waiver for organics for some commercial customers. Let's say it's a construction company and you guys don't produce any organics, you can get a waiver. That waiver has to be approved by the city, the county, or it could be the district. We cannot approve it, that has to be approved. I think that covers that. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the opportunity to do co-collection with our anaerobic digester. We capture 100% of the methane emissions in that digester. We can guarantee the lose capacity for organics processing. The big issue for Power Cycle, they want to have guaranteed capacity. So that would be where your materials will go eventually. And we already talked about procurement, so I don't know that. As I mentioned earlier, we're hiring additional personnel this year to make sure that we have enough personnel to comply with these new regulations. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've done a lot of work, a lot of homework with a lot of our cities, going to all the businesses and explaining what the regulations are and how they will need to comply with those regulations. As I mentioned earlier, here in the news, we don't have that issue. That's a quick recap of 180 pages of regulations. We could be here all night. You guys don't want to be here all night, neither do I. So what we're going to have to do is Rob and staff and I will need to sit down and go through the timeline. That's one thing that Power Cycle told me earlier today is that they want to see a timeline from the district. And one of the challenges is, as you can imagine, every city, every county in the state of California is doing this. So trucks, new trucks are at a premium. Not to mention the fact that we have supply chain issues with trucks right now. So I told Power Cycle this afternoon, there's no way that the district is going to be able to comply this year. It's just not going to happen because there's just not enough trucks to go around. Containers, same thing. Supply chain issues with containers. As you can imagine, everybody's buying containers. Every city is buying containers, and there's only a handful of providers of containers. So it's a challenge from that perspective. And I believe Mr. Emmons, if I'm not mistaken, submitted a 619 extension. It's called an SB 619 extension to give us the district some more time. But what the city, the Power Cycle folks are going to ask for is a timeline. So we're going to have to work on that timeline and figure out what that's going to take. So any questions on SB 1383?
What does that mean to our constituents in terms of cost?
Well, that's something that we have to sit down and talk about. We haven't run any numbers, so I don't know what those costs are going to be yet.
So it won't be less.
No, unfortunately not.
Well, maybe with all that compost that.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna just cost more money. I mean, we have to put an extra 2 trucks on the street, 2 drivers. Obviously all the reporting that goes behind this, I didn't even touch on the reporting that we're gonna have to start doing. It's the biggest, I've been in the business 35 years. This is the biggest change, change in our business in 30 years. It's completely changing the way we do business. And we find out new little tidbits about it every week. So yeah, it's a huge change for everybody.
Yeah, a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
First, thanks for the presentation.
Sure.
Very good. And Jessica, if you could you give the board, send the board copies of the presentation? Electronically is fine, I think, for everybody.
Sure.
But I'd like to have that available. Is it your expectation that each of the 3 primary categories would have a separate truck?
Yes, sir.
And given the nature of our community, where we're highly rural and farming, and most of us grind up our own organics and
Sure.
and reuse them, is there any mechanism for feedback on the effectiveness if we're running empty trucks for a year? There's nothing showing up to go into the green waste container.
Yeah.
Is there any means for feeding that back?
We would be happy to feed it back to CalRecycle. At the end of the day, they're the authority that will tell you what you can and can't do. One of the things I thought about that I haven't talked to Mr. Emmons about is the possibility of maybe doing every other week service. So, we do recycling 1 week, you do trash every week.
Yeah.
But then you do recycling 1 week, organics the other week, recycling 1 week, organics the other week. That I think is something we need to look at for Duluth, because you guys are a unique community. And I hate to put any more trucks on your streets than we absolutely have to. But that I think is something we need to take a hard look at. And for more than anything else, to reduce cost.
Yeah. For communities that are more urban,
Sure.
several homes along a block of
Right.
of roadway, there would be some impact, whatever it may be. In the case of Duluth, where there may be more like a quarter of a mile or so between stops, is it fair to assume that this would be a heavier cost burden for people in Duluth than in a normal city environment?
Because much of our cost basis is on density. So when we can go boom, 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 and hit them, we can do in Temecula, we can do 850 to 900 stops a day.
Mhm.
Here we do about 360 stops a day.
Yeah.
So the density is not there naturally. So it does play a role in the whole thing, but again, in talking to CalRecycle this afternoon, we came up with that thought about it. And I asked them, I said, can we do this? Because you have to ask them everything. And they said it would be something that we could definitely look at. So I think it's something we want to contemplate, right?
I think one of the aspects that may not have been looked at closely, I know the drivers do their best to stay out of everybody's way as they're picking up, but the fact is they stop and pick up containers along all of our roads. And that has an impact, I believe, on traffic flow. Is that a good guess?
At times on Sunday.
At times when the
they
trucks are
stop.
running
Yeah,
on
they stop.
the roads, they're stopping every quarter of a mile or so and picking up. And we're basically 2-lane roads.
Right, you have to stop with the trash truck.
So every time the trash truck stops, the traffic along that road stops.
Or you have to pass over a double yellow line to get around them.
Exactly.
Either one of those are good.
So I'm wondering if there's some safety impact here that we could, or that we may be able to research. If we have 3 times the number of truck stops, it would seem like that risk may be higher. Okay, thanks. Thank you again. for-
Yeah. Right now, you all of the trash goes into the truck and you sort it. And you take out recyclables.
Yeah, we do enhanced sort on,
Right? Why can't you continue to do that for recyclables?
because under the regulations, you have to have
Okay.
3 carts,
Okay.
3 trucks.
So that's not an
It's
option.
not an option anymore.
Okay.
A lot of other cities have already been doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing more and more of it. I don't know if you guys have heard about it on radio, on TV. It's been in the media a lot more in the last 60, 90 days. So it's definitely starting to gain some traction. We've known it's coming for years, but the general public has not. It's just something we're all getting used to.
We'll also have to be educated on what is a recyclable.
Yeah, we have a bunch of public education that will be distributed when we distribute containers. Prior to distributing containers, there's a learning curve involved. We also provide kitchen pails. And these are little 1.5 gallon kitchen pails with aerated lids. And we give those out to everybody who wants one. We don't just give them out to everybody because some people don't want them. But if anybody wants one, those are, the first one's free. And you don't need more than one of them, but that's a habit that you have to get used to, putting your food waste into there from your kitchen and then taking it out to your green waste container and putting it in your green waste container. It's a tough habit to establish, but we do offer those as well.
One other question, this timeline that we need to put together, is there a timetable for us to submit that?
They didn't give us a timetable this afternoon, but that is something I think that staff may want to follow up with on CalPSI.
Jim? Back to you. Unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go. How's that?
Good.
Yeah, the impact on this, if we just make some simple analyses, your current cost for pickup is $38.02 per month. And if we had to triple that, that puts it somewhere around $120 per month. But of course, we know that there won't be an awful lot generated because of the rural nature of our community. So I don't know really where we go, and I believe that we'll start working next with Joanna Chen, who's I believe here, who works with those folks in Sacramento. But there's some real difficulties here, and the one is that we are clearly entitled to our waiver. We only have a population of 2,500, and the waiver is anything below 7,500. We know that we don't have 7,500. They've artificially used attributed urban population to us, and that's great that they can just say, well, we're the king and that's the way we count the chickens here. I've never seen that before, and that some attorney up in Sacramento just signs this and all of a sudden it's law. And remember, these, there's only 6 pages of law, and there's 186 or whatever of administrative regulations. And that's where the problem comes in. But I don't know, we're going to have to step through one by one and figure out how we're going to comply with this. But if we had that population that they're attributing to us, it would certainly make it way more economically feasible. But those people pay their bill to the cities of Temecula and Murrieta. So it makes no sense why they're part, I mean, this was really why the rule of waiver, but they choose to look the other way. And so anyway, we're just gonna have to keep talking about this, I guess, month after month, and try to come up with some sort of solution. So that's about as far as we are right now. But I think it was nice to hear Alex kind of lay out what exactly these regulations are. And so that's what we know for now.
Okay, alrighty, thank you, Jim. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
A lot of information to go through. Okay, moving on, agenda item number J, ordinance number 2022-01, speed limits. Mr. Emmons, back to you.
Yes, this is consideration of this new speed limit ordinance 2201. You have seen this before at your prior meeting. You held first reading a month ago. It's appropriate now to conduct second reading, accept any public testimony that there may be, and then vote to adopt ordinance 2201. So the appropriate motion, should you determine to proceed, is that you move that ordinance 2201 be introduced for second reading by title only, that further reading be waived, and that ordinance number 2201 be adopted. And this takes a roll call vote.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Alessandri? Roberts, aye. Approved. Thank you very much.
This ordinance will go into effect in 30 days.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, traffic study. Steve.
Short report tonight. What is this? So we move our changeable message board around. It's now over on Sandia Creek, south of Skyrocket. I heard from the sheriff will be rotating it, apparently northbound or eastbound direction. I said southbound, I should say westbound. And we'll rotate it to the eastbound direction then the next week or two. Yeah, catch the guys going the other way.
You need to catch them,
We talked to the sheriff and I know the street was gonna be reopened. They were out there with the CHP. CHP said they wrote 50 or so tickets the first few days, so that was good to hear. We greeted them with a nice little citation. And when we have these speed limits, we'll let them know now when those will come effective, we'll send them a completed package and everything for their use at the court, so. We're working on 3 projects, as you know. Project 1 is the all-way stop request at these 2 locations. That report has been prepared, and we'll discuss it at your next board meeting. Full staff here. Second one is the speed limits, which tonight we took a step at the very bottom there, reading the second reading. So now, as Jim indicated, they're going to effect mid-April, and we'll begin enforcement right away. And the third project is the before and after study of Sandia Creek. So we collected data 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and now we will go back in April, first week of April, and collect more data and do the comparison and analysis and the other analysis that we talked about with the Buenos Campus and El Prado. That's that one there, so you go ahead and skip that. Skip. And then this is just some of the ongoing stuff that we've been doing on the traffic. Of course, last month, we were out there getting the striping done on those 2 streets, reopening the contractor, getting the detour removed. We've been reviewing traffic control plans, driveways for site distances, owners vegetation that encroaches into the streets. We're working with the fruit and avocado companies to get their bins off the streets and shoulders wherever we can. And we've issued a work order already for the new speed limit signs that are going in on the curves. So get that ordered. So answer any questions that you might have.
No.
Very good, thank you, Steve. All righty, agenda item number L, road maintenance field crew report. Mr. Wyatt.
All right, so as some of you are aware, Lowe's Campus was the detour during the construction of Sandia Creek, or the reconstruction of Sandia Creek. We had a Nelson Paving come out, and they provided a permanent solution to the asphalt damage that has occurred from the heavy traffic of that road that wasn't meant to take that traffic. So what you're seeing here is the before of them removing the asphalt, which is a full depth repair. Next picture. And these are the finished product of all the patching that's been completed. They completed a little over 2,000 square feet of full depth asphalt replacement. Next slide. And as you can see, we've really hit it hard. So as of right now, the road is in good condition and it's safe to drive on. And it's definitely been remedied from what it was before. We currently are looking at eventually slurrying this road to give it that nice clean look, just like Sandia Creek, and fill all those small cracks and voids that have occurred on that road since that detour has been open. So Rancho Waters had, you guys, I'm sure most of you know, Rancho Waters had a pipe burst on Capistrano. It ended up forcing quite a bit of water and material through our pipes. Before they completed their paving portion of it, they asked us if we would like to repair or replace the pipes, and they would incur the cost of the asphalt. So as you're seeing here, this is going across Capistrano. We've removed damaged two 36-inch pipes at a total of 180 feet. This is the crew here installing the new HDPE. This is the new standard for culvert repair. It's got a lifespan of about 100 years. It's incredible stuff, and this is now what's in place of that old metal pipe that was previously there. This is the front of it, front portion of the pipe. As you can see, we've added concrete to hold those pipes together. This will last you another 60 to 100 years, my assumption would be. I think the biggest highlight on this project was we had our two new field staff here really help me with this project, both new to working in this kind of underground construction, essentially. They both did a really good job helping us get through this. It ended up taking a total of 5 days, and the overall cost savings was about $13,000 for the project. And this is the finished photo of Rancho Waters coming back after we had completed our repairs and paving that section of road, which is now in strike. And on El Prado, we had a similar drain correction. It was about 10 feet of pipe that had rusted away and was causing deterioration of the down drain that was adjacent to it to start pushing into the roadway, which eventually would have caused damage to the roadway. We caught it in time, replaced it with another 10 feet of that HDPE pipe I had mentioned before. And next slide. This is the finished product. We had completed the asphalt repair and the backfill. This only took us approximately 2 days, including the asphalt repair. And it only cost the district approximately $1,800. And with the quotes that we had received for it, we probably saved an estimate of about $6,000 on this project as well. This is just the front picture. So that's just the completed portion of the pipe. And again, this will this will last quite a long time, and it remedied the situation without having to actually replace the entire pipe itself. And again, also wanted to give a thank you to Myriad Development. Cody helped us quite a bit on that project, getting material that we couldn't get ourselves due to the constraints that there are with materials and the shortages that there are. So they helped us out quite a bit and definitely made that project, both of those projects a very smooth transition for us. This is the completed pictures of Sandia Creek. These are our pictures. This is looking over the pipe that had been completed in that left-hand picture, and behind us aiming towards Buenos Campos to the right. This is on the left, that's the inlet portion of the pipe, or the pipes that they had replaced. And that's the head wall that you're seeing there, as well as the fencing and grading. And then to the right is the outlet portion. Job was completed, obviously. It's already been touched on, but it was a great project. This was just showing the slurry that continued on down to the county line south of Buenos Campos. That's the completion of Brentford.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Quick question, what impact are you seeing from the cost of materials and availability of materials now?
For us, or for any construction company right now, they've been very difficult, especially when it comes to the culverts. That's why it was so nice to have Cody behind us, because they really don't have enough to go around. So something like that, with culverts, asphalt, all that kind of stuff is hard to get right now. And if you do find it, it's hard to get it at a good price. So luckily we were able to do that. But it's a constraint to pretty much every facet of construction right now.
I would imagine a slurry would be very expensive at this point too.
Yeah, with the growing cost of oil, obviously, it's raising day by day. I think it's actually amongst aggregates and mining in general, it's the most expensive as far as growth is concerned.
President Roberts, Sean and Django would like to address the board.
Hi, I just had a quick question. I just realized how I can raise my hand to alert you that would like to make a comment. So I'm really happy to see that that's working. So my question is, back with Steve Liebring had his last slide. It said something about a traffic control gate regarding the SCE. Could you please tell me what SCE was and what you're reviewing?
Southern California Edison.
Okay.
And they submit plans for how to put their new facilities in, how they're going to use the flagman and so on, the direct traffic.
So it's not related to the Sandia Creek easement gate or anything?
No.
Okay, cool. That's all. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wyatt. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. We're on agenda item M, committee reports. Let's see, engineering committee met on March the 8th, or February 8th, 2022. Minutes were approved, and this evening, Mr. Stein, Liebring, Emmons, and Wyatt presented their updates we addressed on March 8th. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Chuck, would you like to add anything from that meeting?
Oh, just a comment that we're spending a lot of attention now on the traffic changes due to the opening of Sandia Creek. And so we're going to be looking very carefully at how that affects the roads, the speed, the safety issues, that sort of thing. So we'll have more of that as time goes on. But the beginning is to audit the traffic flow and determine where we are.
Very good, thank you. Okay, finance committee reports.
Finance committee met yesterday, and we reviewed, first of all, the audit was not presented yesterday. I spoke with the auditor, and he has said that he will make every attempt to present the audit next month. some of the issue is really in reconciling numbers. Some of that, the delay is related to FEMA and getting all of the FEMA information together and getting that out delayed our ability to provide some of the information to the auditor. This is a busy time for the auditor, tax season. So there's going to be some delay as a result of that. So he assured me there was not a problem, there was no concern, and that it was just a matter of reconciling some of the numbers. We would try to do that as quickly as possible. We're hoping that there'll be a special meeting of the Finance Committee to review this and then present to the board next month, but it is possible that it may be further delayed. We also talked about a request for proposal for auditing firms. We're going to be sending that out to a number of firms. Jim has looked at, reviewed that, and we had decided that this year we would be asking, putting out a request for proposal for auditing. And as that comes in, we will be reporting to the board regarding that. The other thing that was discussed was the FEMA collections. To date, we've received about 1.3 million, and we're expecting another almost $1 million for San Diego Creek and Via Vaquero. So that would bring us up to about 2.3 million. There's some additional monies that we're going to be looking at, and I think there's about 45,000 more that we're looking at. And I don't recall what that was for, but that's another potential, but not obligated. The 900,000 to $1 million is obligated, so we fully expect to receive that. You already looked at the investment statement and also the claims, so I don't need to report that. And so that's the content of the meeting. Do you have anything like that?
You covered it all. Thank you very much. Okay, following our finance meeting yesterday, we entered into a closed session of the Legislative Committee, SB 415. So again, we met yesterday, March the 15th, and in essence, we just kind of talked about the fuel documentation that was submitted to Jeff Green, Chief of Staff, to Supervisor Kevin Jeffries. And it was quite a bit of information, so I'm just going to highlight, 5 little items in terms of what they did receive. They did receive a letter from us explaining the history of this topic, the current situation, and the requested solution. Secondary, our resolution number 2203 of the Duluth CSD Board of Directors requesting assistance from the County Board of Supervisors. Third item was the legal opinion by the Duluth Community Services District General Counsel, BB&K. Fourth, a proposed resolution for adoption by the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. And last item was a proposed cooperative agreement between the County of Riverside and Duluth CSD. Also, in addition to that, this information was provided to Juan Perez, Riverside County Transportation Department. And of course, BB&K, our legal firm, along with Riverside County Council, have been working hand in hand on this subject matter and will continue to do so. And all respective parties are in the process of reviewing all of this documentation. And as we move forward here, we'll continue to keep everybody informed of our progress and with our fingers crossed as well. Let's see. Okay, I think that should cover it. Let's move on to N, General Manager's Report. Mr. Emmons, are you here with us? You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Okay, I'm here. We've covered a lot of ground tonight, so I don't believe I have anything additional at this time.
Okay, thank you. And moving on smartly, Mr. Simmons, Legal Counsel.
I just have a short report tonight. We had some attorneys appear in court on the case called Duluth Community Service District versus Conis, and Concept Freight, which is about the district recovering its costs on the spill on the road sometime back. With the Croncho or, yeah. And
Both
so, yeah, and that was on March 9th. The court date, the judge set the court date for December 16th. So justice moves at a glacial pace. And also mediation has been ordered for the month of May. So that's all I've got for you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, thank you, everyone. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you.
Good job.